What would you do if you were trapped, completely alone, with a choice so horrifying it feels impossible? This is the true story of Aron Ralston, a man who faced the ultimate test of survival. Aron was an adventurer, a thrill-seeker who loved exploring the wild. On a beautiful sunny day in Utah, he set off for a solo trip into the vast, stunning Blue John Canyon. He didn't tell anyone where he was going. Why would he? He'd done this 100 times before. He packed his bag with his gear, ropes, a water bottle, a small multi-tool, and a camera to capture his adventure. The desert stretched out before him, a landscape of red rock, an endless blue sky. He biked for miles, the wind in his hair, feeling completely free. Then he ditched his bike and started hiking on foot, navigating the narrow slot canyons. The walls of the canyon were like waves of ancient rock, beautifully carved by time. He even met 2 lost hikers, Christy and Megan, and being the experienced guide he was, he showed them a hidden, crystal-clear pool. They laughed, swam, and had a great time, capturing the moment with a photo. After they parted ways, Aron continued his journey deeper into the canyon. He came to a narrow passage, a tight squeeze between towering rock walls. To get down, he had to climb down a series of boulders wedged in the gap. He put his hands on a large, seemingly stable boulder and began to lower himself. But then, the unthinkable happened. The boulder shifted. It slipped, and in a terrifying instant, Aron and the massive rock tumbled down the narrow crevice. He landed with a thud, and a wave of searing pain shot up his right arm. The boulder had crashed down with him, pinning his right hand and wrist against the canyon wall. He was trapped, completely and utterly stuck. At first, panic didn't set in. He was a problem solver. He tried to push the boulder, pulling with all his might, but the rock, weighing hundreds of pounds, wouldn't budge. Not even a millimeter. He took out his multi-tool, a cheap one, not his usual high-quality gear. He tried to chip away at the rock around his hand, but the stone was too hard, and the blade of his tool was pathetically dull. Hours passed. The sun moved across the sky, casting long shadows into the canyon. Night fell, and the desert grew cold. Aron shivered, not just from the dropping temperature, but from the chilling realization of his situation. He was miles from anywhere, and nobody knew where he was. He rationed his small amount of water, taking only tiny sips. He set up his camera, recording a video diary. It was a way to stay sane, to talk to someone, even if it was just himself. He spoke to his family, his friends, apologizing for his recklessness, for not leaving a note. The silence of the canyon was deafening, broken only by the sound of his own breathing and the whispers of the wind. The next day came, and the day after that. He was getting weaker. Thirst was becoming an agony. He had to drink his own urine to survive. His mind started playing tricks on him. He hallucinated, dreaming of a flash flood that could lift the boulder and set him free. He dreamt of his ex-girlfriend, of moments they shared, of a future he might never have. He saw visions of a little boy, his future son, waiting for him. These visions weren't just dreams. They were a powerful reason to live, a glimpse of the life that was waiting for him if he could just get out. What do you think was going through his mind at this point? After days of being trapped, with no hope of rescue? Let me know in the comments what you would have done. By the 5th day, he knew he was running out of time. His water was gone. His body was failing. His cheap multi-tool was practically useless against the rock. He looked at his trapped arm, then at the small, dull blade of his tool. A horrifying idea, one he had dismissed as insane, now seemed like his only option. It was a choice between dying there in the canyon or doing the unthinkable to live. He knew what he had to do. His arm was already dying, the circulation cut off for days. He used his climbing ropes as a tourniquet to stop the bleeding. Then, with a surge of adrenaline and a silent prayer, he began the gruesome task. First, He had to break the bones in his arm. He leveraged his body against the canyon wall and snapped his radius and ulna. The sound echoed in the small space, a sickening crack. Then, using the small, dull blade, he began to cut. It was an act of sheer will, a battle against unimaginable pain and his own body. He cut through skin, muscle, and tendons. Every second was an eternity of agony. But the thought of his family, a vision of his future son, it all fueled him. He had to get back. He had to live. After what felt like a lifetime, but was probably about an hour, he was finally free. His right arm was gone below the elbow. He was free from the rock, but he wasn't safe yet. He was severely dehydrated, weak from blood loss, and in shock. He still had to get out of the canyon. He rappelled down a 65-foot cliff wall with one hand. He then began the long, staggering walk back towards civilization. He stumbled for miles under the scorching sun, a phantom of the man who had entered the canyon just days before. He was on the brink of collapse when, like a miracle, he saw a family hiking in the distance. He used his last ounce of strength to cry out for help. They found him, gave him water, and called for rescue. Soon, a helicopter was airlifting him to a hospital. He had survived. He had spent 127 hours trapped in that canyon, and he had chosen life. Aron Ralston went on to get married and have a son, the same little boy he had seen in his visions. He never stopped exploring, but now he always leaves a note.